The Nuggets beat the Lakers. There's no way that can be anything but a positive. There's nothing bad to say here. The Nuggets beat the Lakers. It's all good. We're going to force the optimism on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being with us Monday through Friday. We do appreciate you guys being every dayers, because you can hang out with us and catch all of our great episodes, like the one that Ryan and Swipa did, or you can catch the one that Ryan and I do, or the one that Ryan and I will do probably again tomorrow night, or the one that Ryan and I will do again on Sunday night. You're taking off tomorrow. I'm benching you the way that Malone cannot bench Jokic. You're not doing tomorrow's show.
All right. I'm paid. Okay.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. My name is Matt Moore. He's Ryan Blackburn. He's from Mile High Sports. Check out his writing and the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. Nuggets beat the Lakers, or as I call them, the Zakers, because they were zombies. 131-126. Somebody wanted me to call them the Fakers, and I was like, no, because like they're trying, so they can't be called the Fakers, right? Like that's not fair to them. They're just like the zombie Lakers. So yeah. Nuggets beat the Zakers 131-126 after a Russell Westbrook steal and layup when the Lakers had a chance to tie the game if they'd been able to generate a three. So pretty good job by Russell Westbrook there. Jamal Murray hits the go-ahead shot, effectively the game winner, on a really nice two-man game action where Jokic re-screened when they tried to front him and then screened two guys at once, which allowed Jamal Murray to get open for a step-back three-pointer. Wide
open shot that you just have to hit, and he hit it.
I like this comment from Big Honey. We can criticize, but would rather be a win than a loss, right? Like
100%. Nuggets own the Lakers.
When you go through the options here, it's like look good, destroy a team that is missing LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith,
Gabe Vincent.
Can't forget Gabe Vincent.
Amen.
And Trey Jamison and Trey Jamison the third. So, but on the other hand, Trey Alexander didn't play. So Vinny Benedetto would say, really, who was missing more talent? Yeah, like you want him to win this game. You want to beat them. You want to beat them by 30. You want it to be a complete blowout for them to absolutely annihilate and embarrass them. After that, you want it to be like a comfortable win. Yeah, maybe the Lakers made a couple of runs, but the Nuggets led wire to wire. And instead, this was like a really back and forth game. It was competitive. Nuggets looked like that maybe they were going to run away with it, and then the Lakers just came right back. I have a lot of Laker takes off of this game, actually. Like I have a lot of Laker takes off of this game, but this is a Locked On Nuggets podcast, so I will save this for another time, except to say that I think JJ Redick's going to be a really good coach in this league for a very, 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 very long time.
Dude is fantastic, man. That dude is unbelievable at what he does, and like he's going to get hyped up as the next Ty Lue and guys like that's going to happen, and I understand that that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy, but he has earned it, and he puts in the work, and you can tell he's just like really good at this.
It's part of this is like when you install a culture and a way of doing things, the right ones play the right way, regardless of who's in or out. And I don't think this is always true, but I do think that you can honestly say some of that has slipped because the Nuggets are so dependent on Jokic that when Jokic isn't out, they don't play the same way. Like they don't play with, they just don't play the same. And that's a problem, but that's a problem for another time. As the Nuggets starters all play tonight, I was really, really hoping for their sake that it'd be like, hey, Aaron Gordon's going to play, MPJ's going to sit. Hey, Aaron Gordon's going to play, Jamal Murray's going to take the night off. Hey, Aaron Gordon's going to play, no Nikola Jokic tonight, but he will play tomorrow night on the second night of the back-to-back. I was really hoping they would do that. Instead, Jokic plays 37 minutes and 47 seconds. Michael Porter Jr. plays 33 minutes. Christian Brown plays 34 minutes and 30 seconds. And Jamal Murray plays 39 minutes and 25 seconds.
Jamal looked tired tonight in postgame, by the way. He looked pretty gassed, not going to lie.
Man, the whole team is gassed.
Yeah.
This is a 5-7. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we talked about it the other night, but I do want to talk about. I just want to like.
Well, I have rest dilemma. You want to save it for the third segment?
Yeah, we'll save it for the rest of it.
Yeah.
But Jamal Murray does agree. I thought, Murray. You said Jamal Murray game winner saves the day. I thought Jamal's energy, effort, and fire in the third quarter saved them. And his performance at the end of the game obviously saved them. This was a game in which I do genuinely feel, even though Nikola Jokic had 28 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, was only a +2, and Murray was a +6. Gordon was a +16, notably, in his return.
Big time from him.
I did feel like this was one where Murray was the spark that got them the win. I just thought that Jamal was the one that did the thing tonight that they needed the most, and he was the guy that when everybody, I still like this about Jamal, that when you put him up against the worst, that's usually the moment he steps up the biggest. Played terribly all game versus the Lakers in the playoffs, hits the game winner. Sucked for the vast majority of the series versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. How about you get his best the first 3 quarters in game 7 to give you a 20-point lead?
Yes.
He does tend to step up, like, as frustrating as it can be, and you want him to be more consistent so it's not so damn hard all the time. Jamal really does. Like, I thought he played with a lot of heart tonight, which was something that Denver desperately needed.
100%. And he started off the first half and did not play well. The team as a whole did not play well. The consistency on the defensive end is an issue as a whole. There's a lot of guys that you can point to. I thought that Jamal, sometimes he closes out correctly, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he makes the right play defensively, sometimes he doesn't. He did block a Austin Reeves shot at one point, which was pretty impressive. But I do think that this is a Jamal Murray series, this Lakers series. I do not think this is a Nikola Jokic series. I think that the way that this has changed, the way that these matchups have changed, the Lakers are going to do everything that they can to take away Denver's best punch. And the ultimate response to that is, how do your other guys figure it out? How do your other guys navigate those open spaces? And the ultimate play that they got at the end of this game was one where they were so worried about throwing the ball to Jokic that the Lakers got screened up top and gave Murray a wide open 3 as a result. Is that going to happen in the playoffs? No. They'll be better in that, and he's going to have to step up and be even better when the playoffs roll around. I think this is a Jamal Murray series. I think he has to space the floor, be a star, and that's the only way the Nuggets are going to get through the Lakers. I genuinely believe that. The only way that they can do it is if he is at his best.
I don't agree. It's okay, we can disagree, but they haven't figured out Nikola Jokic, and we saw that in the Thunder game. You run him off of screens, there's different actions, you run 2-man game. The Lakers are not going to neutralize.
It's not about figuring it out, though. That's not what I mean. It's the fact that they are over-indexing as much as they are on who Jokic is, because they do not have the personnel to guard him in a traditional way. So they have gone and compromised they're guarding him with Jared Vanderbilt. They're switching all these actions. They're collapsing on him and playing 3 on him as much as they are. I genuinely believe that the way that the Nuggets guard this, or the way that the Nuggets solve this, is they allow Jokic to be triple teamed and everybody else benefits.
Okay. When we get to a plus series between these two teams, we can talk about it. I think one thing that might be true is that that might be how the series starts, and that's not how the series ends.
Maybe.
On the other side, I'm gonna let Ryan. They won. Jamal was good. Jokic put up the numbers, but if we're gonna be honest, we gotta talk about the game honestly, and there was a lot of bad. We'll talk about that next year on Locked On Nuggets. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. I think I'm gonna maybe back Creighton just because of our guy Vinny Benedetto.
Might as well.
I liked watching them tonight. It was really fun watching them play. I was watching that game during the breaks of the Nuggets game. That was really fun.
They were fighting by the end of that thing.
Visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on Saturday. We will do a post-game show. Oh, I will do a post-game show after the Washington Wizards game, and we'll have many takes because I have many thoughts on the Washington Wizards. Because I am an absolute sicko. Okay. I want to, before I hand the wheel to you, I just want to say the NBA is hard, and I know they get paid millions of dollars, and I understand that. I get it. And I have been one that's been like, yeah, sometimes the game is hard, and you have to like live up to that moment and try to take that whole approach. The only thing that I'll say is just like, when you watch these guys compete and you watch how hard they play and you watch the toll it takes on their bodies and you watch them do it for 82 games, 65, whatever at. I just want to say that, like, if you're the Nuggets, I would understand being like, you have no idea what it's like guarding that team. Like, you have no, like, yeah, they're missing LeBron, and they're missing Luka, and they're missing all these guys. But I've got Jared Vanderbilt, who is an absolute machine. I've got Austin Reeves, who was a star at Oklahoma and absolutely just was phenomenal tonight. He was so good in every single aspect. You've got guys like Jordan Goodwin, who I actually think is a really good player, giving quality minutes and knocking down big shots. And I don't think that this was a good win. It wasn't. It was a bad win. The Nuggets should have stomped these guys. They rested everybody. They should have stomped them. However, the NBA is hard, and so I like to have a little bit of respect for both the Lakers and for the Nuggets, and that the Nuggets have to be like, I'll take the win, because there's a lot of, I do a show every day, Monday through Friday, which you can catch on Locked On NBA, with Doug Branson, who does Locked On Hornets, and Hayes, who does Locked On Bulls.
Tough scene.
And when I come in and I'm like, yeah, I mean, the Nuggets won, but like, you have to understand how hard their eyes roll back in their head. But there will be a time when the Nuggets are the other team where it's like, God, I just wish they would win a game. They could compete. And then those teams will be very good. It's a cycle of things. So I will just say that before we get into how bad they were. But I will cede the floor to you to discuss how truly, truly bad the Nuggets defense was tonight.
Yeah, so I want to start with not that one, this one. Tonight, Jokic, best player. Reeves was second best player. Rookie Connect was the third best player on the floor. I could not disagree more. Jokic was nowhere close to the best player on the floor tonight. Austin Reeves was so much better than him in so many different ways. And I think that it's important for Nuggets fans to understand that going into this thing. Jokic was bad tonight. He had 3 steals and a block and was horrible defensively. And I think that Nuggets fans, in the midst of this MVP race and the midst of the agendas that everybody's trying to push, are trying to discount the fact that this has been a pretty bad defensive season for the Nuggets, and he is the defensive anchor. Everybody says he's the most important defensive player on the team, and it goes both ways, because there's a reason why the Nuggets don't start well in these games. There's a reason why the Nuggets don't close out as well as they probably should. It is because there is no protection behind them right now. It is because they are scared of what happens when a guy blows by them. And it is because they're having an example be set that's kind of poor on the defensive end by Jokic in some of these moments. And look, he can amp it up. He has shown that he's amped it up. He amps it up in the third quarter and fourth quarter especially. And look, Matt doesn't want to be on the screen for this one, and I understand why, because I'm blasting Jokic right now. He took himself off the screen. Look, man, this is the burden of the best player in the world. Yes, it's really hard sometimes to play all this offense and to do all these things. He doesn't have to play at the center of this. He doesn't have to play at the center of this offense all the time in this matchup in order for the Nuggets to be successful. He doesn't have to try to find a whole bunch of extra offensive possessions in this game in order to get a triple-double and be the MVP. What he had to do tonight was be good defensively, and he wasn't. And the actual defensive rating for the Nuggets while Jokic was on the floor tonight was like 140 against the hospital Lakers. And look, you could point to Michael Porter's defense. you could point to, and like Michael Porter got hunted tonight. They were trying to look for him all the time, especially in the second quarter and the fourth quarter. There were other guys like you could criticize Russell Westbrook's second half. He was horrible in the second half, but he was great in the first half. You could criticize Murray. He's not always on point. But the most important thing that the Nuggets need to know, and that they will know going in, is that everything revolves around how good Jokic can be defensively in these matchups. Because if he's not good enough defensively, the Nuggets don't have a chance. They just don't. And that's why I have a little bit less faith at this point.
That was Ryan Blackburn, Blackburn, not Matt Moore, who thinks Jokic is an amazing player.
Jokic is the best player in the world, and it's not even close, Matt. It's not close. He's the best player in the world. And yet, there are things that you have to do, and he has to be. He just like you and I are watching the same game, man. Like I know that
I've complained about it. Yeah. The one thing I will say here though is this is a compound problem. And as much as I can tell you after having done a lot of film this week about all the good things that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is defensively, and this is not really an MVP discussion. I'm getting to a more central point. They had Shai guarding Drew Holiday in that Celtics game because that's the easiest matchup. That if Drew gets off a shot, you live with it. Again, I think Shai's a very good defender and has been great this season on that end. With Joker, the problem is that with the roster construction, how can I put this? A Jokic fan, I understand when Jokic fans tell me Joker should not have to cover for the other guys. He does so, it grates on me. It is like I hate why you want to hate more than anything when your car ices over and you have to scrape it off. That makes the back of my neck just freeze up. I hate it. And that's how I feel when Jokic fans are like, he has to do so much. Right. And every time I want to be like, oh, does the $50 million guy that's 7 feet tall have to do the hard stuff?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel, right? But there is an argument to be made that if he's going to be that good offensively and he's going to have to touch the ball as much as he does, because he touches the ball so much more than everybody else in the league. It is laughable, the gap between him and the other guys in touches per game. That is reasonable to expect everybody else is going to have to do their job. So if Jokic doesn't always do his job defensively, fine. The issue is that the only type of scheme, if Joker was honestly just better at drop, this would be fine. And that's not like a good, bad skill, whatever. If Joker was as good at the level, if he was as good at drop as he is at the level, this would be a lot easier. It would just be a lot easier. But the Nuggets have found that the only real way for them to be a successful defensively with Jokic is to play him at the level and have him engaged. The problem, I will say, tonight is there were sequences where Joker played at the level and Austin Reeves just got the corner on him. And that's when you failed. Like point blank, zero, end of sentence. There is like, if you're going to play that scheme and you get beat, you're dead. That's it. It's over. You're dead. If he gets the corner on you, even if you're still with him, you're dead. He's got the corner on you. He's going to be able to get to the layup, and he did. He either got to the layup or when they brought help, he was able to whip to corner threes every time.
So, yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like, I don't want to sit here and say that Jokic's defense was the only reason this game was bad. Like, Michael Porter deserves a ton of criticism for how he handled a lot of the defensive assignments today. Christian Brown said it himself. He needs to be better. The Nuggets just need to play more physical and they need to play more aggressively. And like Aaron Gordon's still working his way back. He was fine. He was solid today on the defensive end. I didn't watch him enough on the defensive end on his backside rotations to have a strong opinion. But like, if Jokic is going to be out there for 38 minutes a night, and he's been out there way too often, then the Nuggets are just going to be in a tough spot where they have to always be outscoring the opposing team by a ton because they're they're going to give up 120, 130 defensive rating some of these games.
So there's two comments here I want to get to over at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. The first is from Alexander Williams, says, Jokic's defense was bad tonight, but the entire starting lineup no longer has complementary defensive personnel. I continue to think that flaming one player is senseless. That's really important, I do think, from the perspective of if Jamal Murray were Chris Dunn, the offense would be way worse, but the defense would not look as bad. Right, if MPJ were PJ Washington, the defense would not look as bad. Like, the offense would be like, yeah, Jokic isn't great. One of the things that this is a more broader thing. Look at the New York Knicks 1 year ago and think about how good their defense was and how they flew around and how tough they were.
Yeah. They were aggressive.
And they still had Jalen Brunson, right? And they added Mikal Bridges. Bridges is better than DiVincenzo defensively, right? But they went from one defensive liability to two. And that's the real thing here is it's not even Cat tries. I'm sorry. Cat's given better defensive effort this year than Nikola. He just has. He
has a higher floor because of that.
And he doesn't have to do as much offensively. So I get it. We'll talk about that, the energy side on when we get back from break. But he just has been better. And yet still the New York defense is, I do they're worse than Denver. They're worse than Denver because Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. The Nuggets, if it was just Jamal and Nikola, you could figure that out. Yeah. They've done it before.
Yeah.
But the problem is now it's Jamal and Nikola and Yoke. It's Jamal and Nikola and Jamal. No, Jamal and Nikola and MPJ. There we go. It is 12-28. Give me a break. 12-28. Those three. And for whatever reason, Christian, I just don't think this is a knowledge-based thing to me. And this was always my theory. Christian was really hard on himself tonight for Austin's performance. I thought he was fine. I thought he was
he wasn't the guy that was the problem. It was when they were switching Mike onto him or Jamal onto him consistently. Right.
Yeah. And so it's you can just neutralize them. You can just, for whatever reason, Contavious, and I do think that Aaron will play better in the I believe Aaron will play better in the playoffs. If he doesn't, it'll be very a quick exit for them. But I do believe that Aaron will do more in terms of communication and making extra effort plays and stuff like that to cover. But they need two guys to cover way more than they have in recent years because Nicola's a little worse and Jamal's a little worse. And Jamal's not a little worse.
He's the same, just in different ways.
Maybe there's nights when he's really good. Sometimes it's bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
And MPJ's worse. And also the last thing before we do a break is this. I do think that they've been so well scouted defensively.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting the same stuff on them. It's not, they're not plugging different holes every night. It's not oh man, we gave up this, but then this. Every night it's the same thing. It's points off turnovers, transition defense, and corner threes. That's the problem.
Do you think they have to find a new fastball coverage, their new plan A? Because it seems like teams understand exactly what they want to do and how to break it down.
Ask me that again.
Do they need to find a new top coverage that they go to for defensive stops over the course of it's not going to happen this year, but over the course of next year?
It's a great question. We'll get to it when we get back on Locked On Nuggets.
Oh, it was a quick transition.
You gotta be quick. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? I have kids all the time.
Yeah.
Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan your long-term goals. Long-term planning is so important when you're doing financial planning. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets.
By the way, I want to make it known. I want to make it known, by the way, that Matt said to me at the game today that he thinks that Jokic is going to get better defensively as his career goes on.
No, I said next year. Not as his career goes on.
Next year? Okay.
Yeah. I just don't like Ryan often in my view speaks in very much that players are going up or players have turned 28 and they're going down. And I am much more of the opinion that players go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And then like there's like declines, there's rises over the course of when they reach 20 or when they reach 30. And then there's like declines as they go down, but there's still ups and downs here. And that's true of pretty much most players by most metrics. You can kind of track that. I think Jokic will be better defensively next year because I think it's very likely that they will pull back from the amount that they've leaned on him and that either the other players will get better and take on more responsibility. Like, do I think that Jamal's going to have, now that Jamal has pulled out of the tailspin, I'm back to like, yeah, no, one of these years, Jamal's actually going to start the season well. Like one of these years, Jamal's actually going to average 30 for the first 3 months of the season. And I understand being like, if he was going to do it, he would have done it by now. I get that, but I'm kind of like, no, because like I only start judging him at the 18-19 season. And there's 2 years gone. So it's 18-19, 19-20, 22-23, 23, 23-24 and 24-25. So he's like 5 years into like when I'm actually like looking at this.
He started the 2020 and 21 season. It wasn't until after that he tore the ACL, but like he is going to get better. You are right that there's some wiggle room here, but it does feel like Denver's going to need some more athletes and some more guys that can take on a larger burden on that end of the floor.
Let's talk about the rest thing. So the reason, okay, this is weird. Last year, I shouted from the rooftops that they needed to rest after the All-Star break. And it was like, everybody's like, but they're just playing so great. And they're the defending champs. What are you worried about? And I was like, you got to pull back. Like, you have to pull back. After the game, let's back up to the game. Joker was terrible because Joker is gassed. Joker's out of it. He is done. Christian Brown is done. Like, they are all running on empty. This was 5 and 7 nights. It's their, third back-to-back in the month of March. I think it's a 7 and 9.
Yeah.
They had the huge game versus OKC. They turn around 2 days later and play Minnesota. They turn around 2 days later and they have a letdown game versus the Lakers. And they have said this every single time. Everybody's dealing with it. This is life for everybody in the NBA, not just us. You don't get to feel sorry for yourself. You don't get to make excuses. It is what it is. And the players have learned that because they know the fans don't want to hear it. Like, nobody wants to hear it. But on this show, we have the opportunity to provide nuance. And I will tell you that their performance defensively, they can be bad defensively at their average level and not terrible, not bad at their peak, right? Their apex might just be not that bad. When they're not 100%, it's immediately drops down to pretty bad. And then when they're on empty, it's absolutely atrocious. And that's just the reality of it. And it's difficult because I understand being well, you got to be better. How? This is why I hate March. This is why I say that you got to shorten the season. Right. You're asking guys that have nothing left to give and being well, you got to give more. You can't. There's nothing else to give. The teams that make runs right now are teams that sucked for 3 months and are trying to pull themselves out of the gutter. That's what they're trying to do. Or they're the Cavaliers and Thunder who are so stacked that they're able to manage everything perfectly and keep a perfect tempo and rhythm without major injuries to disrupt it. So there's no compensating for things. You know who's been bad defensively over the last 2 months? The Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
OKC's been rough for a month, but you can kind of be
they're so high up there that
and the offense is high up too. But the Magic, their defense was everything, and they fell off a cliff. You know why? Because they're having the Will Barton experience from 2021. Will was so 2022. I'm sorry, 2022, 2021, 22.
Yeah.
Will was so good to start that year and was actually helping them win games and was having to take on bigger roles because there was nobody else that could dribble and shoot. His guard was Facu Campazzo. So if Will was he carried them early. Joker was having like a rough start. And then by March, it was just over.
Yeah.
There was just nothing left. And so like that is part of this equation that you have to consider. I know it sucks. I wish it wasn't true. I wish it was like, no, like it's the schedule's fine. And I wish I could just blame them. But when I look at their schedule and where these guys are at being in that locker room, I'm just like, yeah, they want to have more. They just don't. How am I supposed to blame them for that, Ryan?
It's hard. It's hard too, because the roster is built the way that the roster is. Is why I keep talking about the pressure being mounted on every single person is too high, because Jokic has to be the best player in the league. Jamal has to be one of the second best players in the league. Mike has to be a third scorer. He's kind of failing at that lately. Aaron has to be on the floor. He hasn't done enough of that. Like he's trying to fight back. He's desperately trying to get back out there. He wants to be back out there. Christian has just a ton of burden on him as a new starter, and he's trying to figure out how to navigate that. So these guys have like a ton there, but when you go deep into the bench, Russell Westbrook stepped up. He was great in the first half, helped carry them in that first half.
Yep.
Bad in the second half. Peyton Watson, good defensively for most of that. Offensively, not necessarily like where you want them to be. Zeke Naji hustling on the glass, that's great. Jalen Pickett played 3 minutes, and then that was it. That's all in the rotation that they have when they're even like basically fully healthy, Matt. Julian Strawther and Deron Holmes, a second-year player and a first-year player, are the only guys who missed tonight. And they couldn't go to anybody else or feel like they had any comfort in that. Maybe they should have gone to DJ. That's who I probably would have gone to in this situation, but they have felt the need that they need to like play 8 or 9 guys for the most part. And it's just, and like Michael Malone feels the need to do that for a win, but like he's also compounding the issue that they have because he's not playing enough people and making these minute issues and these game issues even more difficult.
I asked Malone after the game because Malone said on Wednesday, I'm leaning too much on my starters. I got to find ways to get them minutes or games off. Ryan asked Joker about it, and Joker's never going to be like, yeah, I probably need to take some games off. He feels like he'll get killed for that when everyone would be like, thank God.
Virtually flip me the bird in terms of his answer. It's like, I am not taking games off, basically.
Yeah. So tonight, Malone talks about like, well, you know what? I understand it wasn't pretty, but we got to win. We're battling versus the 2 seed. When you look at how close the standings are, And I said, all right, Michael, you said this is 5 and 7. You get a back-to-back tomorrow night. You got all these games left. You want the 2 seed, but you got to get these guys minutes. Something's got to give. And like, I know I wanted to pose the question. And I knew that Malone wasn't going to give me anything substantive. He wasn't going to be like what I would really like to hear from him is like, if you can convince them to take a night off, I would love it. Because the big fella won't take a night off, and then everybody else feels that if they do, they're letting him down. I'm not like, I don't know for sure that that's the dynamic. It could be the opposite. Malone, like Jokic could be like, I wish they would just let me have a night off. Damn. I don't think so. I don't think that's it at all. I think every day the training staff's like, hey, how you feeling? You can take a night off if you need to. And Joker's like, nope, I'm good playing. And the minute that has if you're another player and you see what he does and how much he gets beaten up and all the stuff he goes through and how much he does for them, they do the players genuinely feel an obligation to Nikola Jokic. All the ways that the fans talk about, like, they should be grateful for Nikola Jokic. As if these guys hadn't done anything to get to where they are. Like, it bugs me because I'm like, you have an awesome NBA career. You have built yourself like Christian Bradley. You were a champion in you are a winner everywhere you go, man. Take some credit.
He's a top 100 basketball player in the world right now, basically.
Yeah. Unlike other people who were ranked 89, and maybe that was too high. I think that there's some levels where
there's
an obligation that they feel, but they gotta take nights off, man. Like they gotta
do it.
I don't know how they're gonna do it, man, but they gotta get these guys some.
I do. You want to know how they do it, Matt? They rest them tomorrow against Washington and find a way to win.
But you make it sound easy when it's not. Because and you know what was interesting that I heard? So in the pregame for JJ, okay? Pregame for JJ, he was like, I'm a coach, so I'm paranoid. We gotta find a way to get in the playoffs. And like, if you follow me on Twitter, you're aware of my obsession with standings. And like, I'll tell you right now, like the Lakers are gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna be fine. Magic number is 11 for a spot.
For Denver,
right?
That means it's probably 9 or 8.
Actually, I'm sorry. For the Lakers, it's 13. For the Nuggets, after tonight, it is the Wolves. No, the Wolves won. After tonight, it's 10.
Okay.
Nuggets magic number is 10. Lakers magic number is 13. There's 18 games remaining. If they go 8-5 the rest of the way, they'll get in. Like the other teams are going to win 5 games.
Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, magic number is 10 to get into the playoffs. I think once you clinch that magic number, I think you really have to start just forcing the rest upon people. Being like, you have to instill that you do not care as much about seeding and that what come what may, like all the teams are going to be difficult. You have to worry about you. All you have to do, like if you get a top 4 seed, then you're going to be fine. All these other teams are also hurt. All these other teams are also like struggling through this. So Denver's not the only team that is like having to wage war right now.
I just want to talk about this real quickly. Robert Archie says, how much is it Jokic doesn't play? He sees what the team does. I hate this argument because I think it's completely against everything with how Nikola Jokic approaches basketball. Like he believes in his guys. He believes in his teammates. He's in there with those guys every single day. And even if you're like, he knows that some guys aren't as good, that doesn't mean he doesn't believe in the collective team. Like he's a team first guy. And also if you're going to rest the guy, then how can you really blame them? Because you didn't give them the best chance to win. That's $50 million in cap space that's on the bench. So I'm sorry, when you talk about this, you should not be expected to win games when you have the structure that the Denver Nuggets have without Nikola Jokic. You should not be expected to win games. I'm sorry. No, that's not how this works.
Denver's got a tough situation right now. They're in a tough spot. They've got 15 games left to go, and they're going to have to find time to both win enough of these games against the teams that they need to win against, as well as rest in the ones that they do not. So like they've got Portland on the schedule coming up. Rest during that game. You've got the Wizards tomorrow. Rest during that game. You've got Chicago on the second night of a back-to-back. Rest during that game. You've got Utah. If you can't win against Utah, who is trying to lose and actively like resting their guys illegally in order to do so, then you should probably like have some major questions. So Denver's got to find, they just got to find a way, and they can. But the most important thing that they can do between now and the end of the season is get healthy and get physically capable to go through a long playoff run, because that's the only way you're going to have a chance.
Robert says, so it's a reasonable question to ask that Jokic might feel obligated to play and help them win. Yes, that's
sure.
reasonable.
Like he wants to be out there.
That's what you want, is you want the team to feel like, I don't want to let my guys down. You don't want guys being like, I'm going to do what's best for me. You don't want that. You want them. You want that sense of team camaraderie. We're going to get out of here, but I'll just say, I don't know how they're going to do this. I know that the seeding is a thing, but for me, it's like they're going to feel so disappointed if they slide to the 4. But I'm also like, guys, if you slide to the 4, there's like a 2% chance that you wind up facing the Wolves. It's going to be Memphis or Houston, and then you deal with OKC when you deal with OKC. Like
that's as long as the Lakers stay in the top 3. You do not want to get caught in a 4-5 matchup with the Lakers.
You're really afraid of this team now.
I'm not afraid of them, but like it's just this. Would you rather play Houston or the Lakers?
I don't know yet. I haven't seen them enough of this Houston matchup.
I feel pretty comfortable in my stance. I'd rather play the team that's a little bit more inexperienced and doesn't have an alpha.
Have you looked at the record that Houston's got versus Denver the last 2 seasons?
Yeah, they're great. But also like I just know what Denver will do when they lock in. And I also am not scared of the Houston offense. the same way that I think
it's
offense is.
It's fair. If I will say this though, I mean, I'll return to it. If you believe that what they can do when they lock in, you got to be a little bit more optimistic. You can be like a little bit more optimistic.
I choose not to be, and then I will be pleasantly surprised.
That's going to do it for Locked On Nuggets. We'll talk about the Wizards game tomorrow and how that shakes out. We'll see if the Nuggets can lose twice to the Washington Wizards in one season or whether they take care of business.
Let's go.
I'll have that game for you post-game, and then Ryan, I'll be back on Sunday night for No Jinx. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.
Jamal Murray made a shot.